All right. So I would like to welcome everybody to the amazing Nat Bibby. Nat is a LinkedIn king. And actually, Nat, I've seen a lot of people on LinkedIn, but I reckon you're the man in Australia. I reckon. I think you've got I saw your profile. You've got, you said you generated over $400 million worth of business on LinkedIn. Is that right?
Yeah, it's probably closer to $500 million now. Yeah.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
And you've worked with some of the biggest brands as well. I saw that are out there. So I think I saw Apple on there, or a few other big ones as well, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Mate, incredible.
Yeah.
So when did you start your business? You've had a lot of success, and just introduce, I guess, so the audience know, what you specifically do and what you've achieved on LinkedIn. Just give them a bit of a quick spiel on that.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for having me for starters. Like, I always love being a part of what you're doing, Luke. I think it's awesome. I've been in marketing for 20 years, and people was always like, "Well, how old is he?" Like, I started when I was 16, marketing my dad's business in Phuket, Thailand. He was doing property developments, and yeah, kind of long story short, like I found myself in Melbourne working for a digital marketing agency, and prior to that, I was always marketing real estate. And so I come to this digital marketing agency, and I said to the boss, "What is the best target market for online marketing?" And he had an answer. He said, "Plastic surgeons are the best. They've got loads of money. They don't know anything about marketing. They always need new clients. Things like breast augmentation and liposuction and all these things that people search for on the internet. They all need a lot of clients." And so, just being naive to the industry, I thought, okay, well, that's who I'm going to target then. So I go door knocking, and I try cold calling, and just the way that these surgery clinics are set up is they have a practice manager, and their job is pretty much to stop people like me speaking to the surgeons, right? So like, it's this big gatekeeper. Wow. And it was just around about the time that I got onto LinkedIn, and I just thought, well, why don't I try messaging them on here and see what happens? And I contacted 10 surgeons in the first week. I had 6 appointments.
Wow.
No, sorry. I got 6 replies. 6
Wow.
replies. I had 4 meetings.
Wow.
And then I made 1 sale.
Wow.
But like, everyone else in the company is making sales as well, but they're not making them with the ideal client. And so at the end of the month, when everyone's talking about all their sales, that like one guy might have made $15,000 worth of sales, but it took him 6 deals to do that, right? And they're going around the room, and in the first month in this company, I've got the most sales out of everyone. The most revenue out of everyone, but I only made 1 deal. It's like it was a $25,000 sale because it's the ideal client, Wow. So everyone else is dealing with bricklayers, with like strippers, with just all sorts of people that they come through the website. You can't really decide who it is.
Yeah.
Whereas I was only dealing with the ideal client. So that just made sense for me to keep doing that. And we scaled that business so fast. Like, it was a friend of mine's company. We went from 8 employees to 120 within 18 months. Wow. And at that point, he decided to try and list on the stock market. That didn't work out. And I just left and started my own company and decided that I would specialize in LinkedIn because there's just no one else doing it. Like, I just thought, well, it's working for me. Why can't I do it for other businesses?
Well, so how many years ago was that you left that company and started your own thing?
It's almost 10 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. And so you saw the opportunity on LinkedIn, and then what happened from there?
Well, it was interesting because I was like, okay, I'm going to start this LinkedIn marketing agency, but there's no model to base it off. Like, there's a couple of companies doing it in the US, so like I mystery shopped them, and I was like, so how do you define a lead? And they're like, well, if somebody connects with you, they're a lead. And I was thinking that's not really a lead. Like, so, I define a lead as somebody who gives you their phone number, they're expecting a call. So I just designed this whole like system. What I did first is I delegated my LinkedIn marketing to an assistant. And so I had to systemize it for her. And then I thought, well, if I can systemize it for her to do for me, surely I could systemize it so we could do it for other companies. And And then, you know, in your first year in business, I don't know about you, but for me, like I was so motivated. I was working around the clock. Like I was so excited. And I was like, okay, my first year in business, I'm going to get Apple as a client. I'm going to sign up one of the top 4 banks in Australia.
Wow.
Right. And I was doing Tony Robbins at this time, and like month 11, Apple come on board as a client, Westpac come on board as a client, like a month before the year ends.
No.
It's just
And so I imagine like that's not a small deals, was it, that you signed up with them or?
not at all. Like I'm even like, I don't know.
Like
Even,
Apple are not going to pay you like, give me $1,000, program.
yeah, I don't even know if I should say this, but like I was like putting my prices like way out of my comfort zone because I thought they're not going to take me seriously unless I'm like expensive, right? And then literally, like I'm just looking through my bank account one day, and it's just gone through the roof. And Westpac they've forgotten to tell me that they've even paid me. Like they're just like, oh yeah, by the way, we paid you. Like I was like, wow.
Oh mate, the audience wants to know the amount. Mate.
I know, I bet they do. I've got. Yeah, no, like it was a lot for me, like you know. So, and these days I'm a lot more comfortable with that price tag. But what the audience has got to understand is the power of niching. It's like you know, if I start an online marketing agency, I'm not gonna get a call from Apple and Westpac. Like I'm just another online marketing person. Yeah. But if LinkedIn come up in conversation, I get a call. It wasn't hard for me to get at the top of Google. No one else is doing it. So it's like, if you talk about LinkedIn, you do the search, I'm there. Like I'm everywhere.
Wow.
You know?
So if I search what in Google, what to find you, what I just search LinkedIn marketer or what do we search like?
Well, like it now it's become more competitive. It's more, you know, it was easy back then, but now I have a brand. So it's completely different. It doesn't matter.
Back then, if people search they just search LinkedIn marketing, and you'd come up to the top of the page of Google.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And a lot of the time it was like, I'm looking for a LinkedIn trainer or a LinkedIn expert or a LinkedIn speaker. You know, like if you're having a marketing conference, like I used to get a lot of multinational companies, they would have their annual conference and they'd fly, you know, all of their franchisees in, for example, to like, there was an awesome one I went to with Choice Hotels. It was a global hotel group, and they just happened to have their conference in Tasmania one year. And they're like, oh, we should get a speaker on LinkedIn. Of course, like LinkedIn speaker. Oh, Nathaniel Bibby. Yeah, we'll get him along. It was another expensive speaking gig. They told me afterwards I was the most expensive speaker at the event. Like I was like, okay, cool.
Which event was a big convention?
Yeah, Choice Hotel Group. And they put me up at this 5-star hotel, and they're doing all these cool things. Like we go to Mona Art Gallery, we're going out for dinners, like, you know, and I do these 2 workshops. And I had my mum coming over from Perth to visit me in Melbourne. And I was like, can I bring my mum? They're like, we'd love to have your mum. So I brought my mum with me.
So who contracted you there? Who was paying you? Choice Hotels or someone else?
Choice Hotels, there was that one, yeah. Wow. But I mean, they just happen all the time. They still happen all the time. You know, from my perspective, you know, there is a lot more people doing LinkedIn marketing, and I kind of think they just jumped on the opportunity. I think the fact that I stumbled across the opportunity based on just return on investment, I think makes a big difference. And also, like, running these LinkedIn marketing campaigns across so many different industries, it just gives you the experience to be able to deliver training you know, from a perspective of return on investment. Like, there's a lot of guys who are doing LinkedIn training, but they're just telling you where the knobs are, you know, like, this is how you send a connection request, this is how you do this. But they couldn't tell you if one sentence works better than the next, because they don't know. Like, you got to be testing many of these things. And like, I was always recording numbers. I know exactly what conversion rates, you know, this sentence would get over this sentence. And so we get results. Like, we got a reputation for delivering results. And as you know, like, when you do that, like, you do get all the best clients.
Wow. So how you got good at it was just basically all self-taught, was it?
Yeah, just experimentation, trial and error. You know, I loved it at the start because I was the best salesperson in this company, and I was doing appointments all the time, but I loved it that I could go home and like sit on the couch and have a glass of wine and generate leads for the next day, like just sending messages on
Wow.
LinkedIn.
Wow. So people like coaches out there that are like, oh, should I use Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook or whatnot? Yeah. Like, why do you recommend LinkedIn, and what do you see the advantages of LinkedIn over those other platforms?
Sure. Well, I mean, for me, it was just what was working. Like I'm not going to tell somebody to use LinkedIn if they're getting leads from Instagram. Like if it was working, you go for it. But like that's awesome. But from my perspective, like I find people are there in the mindset to spend money. Like they're there to do business. They're not on there to like choose what they're going to wear out to the dinner on Friday night. They're not there to like hang out. They're there to do business. They want to grow their businesses. If they're business owners, they want to grow their business. They want to find talent. They want to find ways to get a competitive edge. And if you're posting content, like it's just this simple, mere exposure effect. Like if you're showing up in front of the audience repetitively, you're more familiar with they're more familiar with you. They're more likely to buy from you because they like and trust you. But like a lot of marketers get this wrong because they just put calls to action in front of them all the time.
Yeah.
And that just pisses them off,
You talk a lot about that, right? About I saw you do a post or something like "Stop trying to take the woman home on the first date." Um, so yeah, what's the psychology around how to grow a following on LinkedIn and do that?
Well, look, you can take the woman home on the first date if you add enough value. Like,
If you're good.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Like, it may happen like that, but like, I just think that you just can't be asking all the time for that. You can't be going up to every girl in the nightclub saying, "Will you come home with me? Will you come home with me? Will you come home with me?"
Wow.
Like, you may get laid every now and then, but you're going to piss a lot of girls off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So in a metaphorical sense, you're saying that you want people to do posts that are, adding value and not always buy my stuff posts. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And also like a lot of time, I think as well, when people are like listening to, or they're tuning into LinkedIn training, they're always thinking like, how do I hack my way to a bigger audience? How do I get more engagement? But it's all like, it's about them. Like they're trying, how do I get more followers? How do I get this? Like if you reverse engineer what the audience wants, I think I sound a bit like Gary Vaynerchuk at the moment, like the way I'm, but like if you just really get to know the audience and you just focus on delivering value to them, you'll find that you probably need less followers and less engagement to get the same outcome.
Wow. Wow. Because a lot of people say that they want a lot of followers. And if we talk about LinkedIn, they want a lot of followers on LinkedIn, or they want a lot of engagement, a lot of likes and comments. So, for a coach that's, starting out, or a coach that wants to get leads and clients on LinkedIn, what do you recommend there?
Look, I would pick a niche, like if it was me, I would go niche. I would be the coach for marketing agencies or the coach for medical practitioners, or, I would do that. And I would make my headline that, so that when you contact those people, like you're the specialist in that area, it's different to every other coach. That's what I would do to start with. Which is hard for a lot of coaches if they've already been doing it a long time, to niche. A lot of them don't think it's possible, but it does work really well. And then I would go straight to the market by direct messaging potential clients and setting appointments. I think that works extremely well, but with these messages, like you can't tell people stuff that this is, I'll rephrase it. So you can only tell people two things: what they already know they want to know, or what they already know. They can't tell people something that they don't know yet, and they don't know they want to know yet. Like, so if you start telling people like, I'm the best coach in Perth, these are all the awards, these are all the clients I've worked with, and the other person hasn't asked for that information, you're just going to come across as a salesperson, and they're not going to want to talk to you. But if you show interest in them and say, oh, look, I've noticed that you are you run a marketing agency. I actually coach marketing agencies. I'm curious to find out what your business objectives are this year. What are your frustrations at the moment? Why don't we just hop on a call and have an introductory conversation so we can find out a bit more about each other? And so it doesn't come across as a sales message then. But as soon as they tell you that they've got a problem or that they need help, then you can say, okay, would you like to know more about how I can help you with that? And then you've got permission to pitch. Then it's not selling anymore. Then you're helping them buy. You know, it's different.
Wow. Yeah. Because I get a lot of messages every day. I imagine you do as well. But people writing to me saying, you know, buy my stuff, or I'm this and I'm that. And gosh, I think a lot of coaches actually avoid LinkedIn because they just can't deal with the influx of messages, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I thought my inbox was bad, but when I look at my clients, like I look in their inbox, like they're getting bombarded with sales pitches. It's crazy. But there's a couple of things there. Like there's not many of them doing it right. They're all trying to pitch you stuff. Like, so you got to, those messages, they come across as automated. They don't come across as personalized. The what scripts I'm talking about, they are scripts, but they don't come across that way. And so they stand out from the noise. LinkedIn's just, you know, limited the number of invites you can send every week. So that's going to help as well. Like, there's going to be less spam, which is just, it's great for the platform.
Yeah.
But like,
well, it used to be 80. I remember we would, you know, you could get 80 connection requests. We were about doing that for a while, you know, a day. And then overnight, like, they chopped it down to 25 around that a day. And I remember messaging you and asking you about what's going on. And I know you speak with LinkedIn, and yeah, like, it's crazy for how long you could send that many requests to your ideal client for free.
I was saying at these workshops, I was like, you don't understand, you won't be able to do this soon. Like, you've got to grow your networks now. Everyone's half asleep going, oh, really? Like, it's like,
right. I don't know what planet I was on as well, because I was trying Facebook and Instagram for so long, and I do well on those as well. But LinkedIn, like, Jesus, like I used to walk the streets handing out flyers to random people, but like, I didn't know that you could get on LinkedIn and just put in the search bar organic for free. You can find your ideal client and then write to them a message that's compelling to get them to speak on the phone with you for free. And gosh, it's just incredible.
yeah. Well, I mean, like, I don't know, Instagram, right? Like, people follow you. So, like, yeah, I mean, you can ask somebody to follow you, but it's very different if you send them an invitation to connect. Like, if you open your mailbox, right,
Yeah.
and like you get an invitation to something, it's so different than like, so, but like, people don't understand this, but 10 years ago, I was getting capped out at 1,000 invitations in a couple of days. Like, I was sending crazy numbers.
No.
Yeah. I've been banned by LinkedIn 6 times, like, from sending invites. Yeah. I know where all the limitations are because I reached them. Like, they banned me, and like the first couple of times they like lift the restriction. Then it was like a little bit harder. Like, on the 6th time, I went like 9 months where I couldn't send any invitations, and I kept calling them. I kept writing the messages. I was like, lift the restriction. They're like, you keep sending too many invites. We're not going to lift the restriction. And in the end, I was like, okay. The most expensive product they have is the recruiter license. It's $15,000 a year, right? I'm like, I will buy the recruiter license if you lift the restriction. They're like, okay. But this is the interesting thing is, like, I feel like I have to do that so I know where the limits are, but I've never had a client restricted ever, not once. So because I know where the limits are, we're not pushing the boundaries with clients. Like, we're not going to risk their account.
I've used Facebook marketers in the past, and I just got banned. You know, banned. And then the thing is with Facebook, you know what it's like. You know, once you get on the radar as a red flag, it's hard. You know, that's it. Really.
Yeah, and the future is content. Like, the content thing. You know, it's only 5 years ago that you could start posting content. Like, for starters, it was articles. Like, at the start of LinkedIn, there was only 200 people that could post articles. It was Tony Robbins, Richard Branson. Like, they were influencers. Those guys were allowed to. No one else could. You know, imagine how much they cleaned up during that time. But and then they said you could do articles, and then, you know, like Facebook and Instagram are, you know, blowing up. eventually LinkedIn go, okay, now you can do video. It's like, it was so late, but like when I see that happen, I'm like, man, it's so obvious to me what's going to happen. Of course, video is going to be huge. It was huge on Facebook. It was huge on Instagram. So only a year ago, they introduced live video on LinkedIn. Duh, like, of course it's going to do well. Did exactly the same thing on Facebook. Like, it just follows.
Wow. So do you recommend going, because you have to send a request to get approved for live on
even better. Yeah, not everyone can do it. Like, it's even better.
So can everyone get approved, or is there anything that you have to do or be to get approved?
Look, it's in beta mode, so they want people that are using it that are going to show up regularly. And so I got knocked back a few times, and then I just sort of like thought about it more. Like, what are they looking for? What are they looking for? And it's just, they're just looking for people with experience. So you just show them like. So I went live on Facebook for a few weeks just to get that experience, just so I could show them the links and say, look, I'm doing this on Facebook. Let me do it on LinkedIn. And that got me approved. So I would go live a couple of times on Facebook and then share those links with them and show them that you've got experience doing it. Like, I think one of the lives I did, like, I was trying to jam them into a week, and one of the lives was from a pub or something. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Some of the best content from the pub. And do you think it's worthwhile, like, if you do apply to go live on LinkedIn, do you believe it's a good way to generate leads that way or build your brand?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. When I started doing it, like, I just looked at, what was working well on Facebook, and I just thought I'd replicate it on LinkedIn. There was no one that I knew in my network, and like, I'm connected to a lot of LinkedIn specialists and stuff. There was no one I saw that was doing a regular show, like, I think that the weekly show was the way to go. And so I was kind of already had in my mind what I was going to do with live when I got approved. And so as soon as I got it, I just started Monday Night Live, and every week at 6 p.m. I go live, no matter what, It's not, it wasn't something I was looking forward to. Like, I don't really want to have to be locked into a time like that. I was traveling a lot, but I knew that would get the best results, and it's worked really well. One best use of LinkedIn last year for that particular campaign.
Really?
Wow. Yeah. I've won it 2 years in a row. So this is going to be the third year. We'll find out in September. We'll see.
The Floyd Mayweather of LinkedIn. So what, best use of LinkedIn? What, in Australia or everywhere, or what? Well,
the Social Media Marketing Institute do it, and they are an Australian. Well, they're based in Australia, but they say it's international. They get people. They do get businesses applying from like Southeast Asia and stuff.
Right.
So Asia Pacific, I suppose, is probably, I would say, because they rank me number 1 out of the top 20 LinkedIn experts in Asia Pacific. So yeah, I'll take it. Like, where's the global list though? Put me on a global list.
The global list. Put you next to Gary or Tony. I saw that you got 12,000 followers on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
How did you get that to grow?
YouTube. So YouTube, took me 10 years to get 1,000 subscribers.
Wow.
And then I just started looking at the analytics, and I realized, I'm getting 80% of my subscribers from one video. And I was like, okay, I just need to make more videos like this. And then I went from 1,000 to 10,000 in a year. So just looking at the analytics.
What was the video on?
Well, it was a talk about LinkedIn marketing. I thought I looked really nervous in it and stuff. There was a couple of things that I was doing differently. Like, I rocked up and the slides weren't working, right? And so I just had to deliver, and I had no slides. But it actually looks better on video when you don't have slides behind you. And like, I was more engaged with the audience. So I was like, okay, I just won't use slides next time I record a keynote, because it's better for YouTube.
You just sat in front of your desk and recorded a video, like, on why?
Sorry. No, it was a live event. It was a live keynote.
Recorded a live event.
Yeah, so my slides weren't working, and I delivered that keynote, and just happens to that's what got all my subscribers. So there's a couple of things. Like, one is So there was no slides. So it's more conversational. It's probably looking towards the camera more. I don't know. I don't know if this is part of it or not. I still don't know. But I was wearing a t-shirt. Normally I would wear a shirt.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's part of it. But it's a longer video. So like it would have gone for 45 minutes. So I did after that just start posting longer videos. I think that works better because you get longer watch time.
Yeah, right.
People watch the content better. And then more recently, like I think it's like around 14,000 subscribers now. So like
Wow.
my goal was to get from 10,000 to 20,000 in a year. So now I'm like 10xing again. And I've learned that it's a lot to do with the thumbnails and the titles. And that's what I've been working on lately.
Yeah, right. So the thumbnail, yeah, it's got to be captivating, that which is the picture that is showing, as you scroll over it, right?
Well, when you see the search results, like,
Let's
the
go.
click-through rate's normally like 3 or 4% for me. And I was reading this book. I've got it like right here. I'm halfway through it. Right, this guy, Daryl Eves, genius. His click-through rate on some of his videos is like 16, 20, 30%. Like his thumbnails are so good that
Really?
people pretty much click on them a third of the time. And so I'm like, well, if he's getting 30% click-through rate and I'm getting 3%, there's obviously something I can learn from this guy.
What's the name of that? What is the name of that?
What's the name of the book? What's the name of that book? The YouTube formula, right?
By what's his name?
Daryl Eves.
Okay.
Daryl Eves. Yeah,
He's getting 30% of the people that see his video. When you say click through, as in?
Well, in the search results, you've got like 10, 20 videos there to choose from. So 1 in 3 times they'll click on his video.
Really? 1 in 3 times. Jeez, Daryl Eves, YouTube. Wow. Wow, that's extraordinary. So yeah, well, you've got to learn from the best. And so now, how are you structuring your business now? How are you working with people?
Well, now there's a bit more competition in the market. Like I definitely have moved more towards a corporate end. So like my clients are generally, bigger clients. When I started my business, it was like everyone I meet was a potential client. Whereas now it's like most of the time they're not, but having said that, when COVID started, I was like, I'm very dependent on face-to-face interaction. I need to move my business so that it has like a virtual element to it. So I just finished building nathanielbibby.com. That's got online courses, virtual events on it. So there's loads of value that anyone can get from there. But I'm just trying to market that website online,
Yeah. Wow. And if someone was a new coach and they were just starting out, like you said, they get a niche, and then ideally, like if their ideal client is on LinkedIn, that they can search for them and find them and write them a compelling message. And then how often do you recommend people should post on LinkedIn? How often?
Like 5 times a day,
Really?
Well, this is the thing. Like, you don't have to post that often. Like, it's not going to make too much difference with the algorithm. But like, you just learn. If somebody's posting 5 times a day and another person posting once a day, you're going to learn 5 times quicker. Like, you just learn from the audience. Like, there's not really a course you can go do to learn what your audience wants. You kind of have to, figure that out. So, like, I mean, you don't have to post 5 times a day. But what I'm saying is, like, post as much as you feel like you can deliver. Like if it's compromising the value, don't do it. Like if you're gonna automate your posts and like spin like quotes that you find online to do that volume, like don't do it. But make sure you're delivering value, even if it's just 3 posts a week. But what's important is that you look at all of your content and you maybe do this every month or at least every couple of months and just look at all the content. What is the statistics? So like how many views did each one get? How many comments did each one get? And then you just go harder into what's working. That's the secret to it. Gary Vee does this. He's getting audience insights all the time. And so when he started out, like a lot of people will probably know, he was just talking about business, and now he talks about not caring what people think and relationships. And this is just feedback from his audience. He noticed when he touches on that subject, he gets more engagement. So he talks more about it. you know.
Wow. So that's an important thing for coaches as well, is that they should look in the audience insights and see what people are liking and commenting on, and seeing, comparing the engagement between the different posts they're doing.
Yeah, and with organic, like with you posting from a personal profile, you don't, like, it's a bit hard to get all that analytics, but there's an app which I use called Shield Analytics. It's the only one that it pulls data out of LinkedIn's personal profiles. So Shield Analytics, just check that out. Like, it's,
Right.
I think it's like $10 a month or something, but it shows you all of your posts, exactly how many comments each one got. You can organize them by what gets the most engagement. I use that, and you know, like, even if I look at like all my posts from last year, like I can see what are the top 20 posts, and I will just repost them. I don't even need to rewrite them. It doesn't, like, no one remembers what I posted a year ago. Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, so you recommend also that just reposting the content that got the best engagement, previously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I do the same thing with like Instagram as well. So, like if a post does really well on Instagram, I know it'll do well on LinkedIn most of the time. Like it's like if I need a good post, sometimes I'll just pull the most engaging one that I've got on Instagram. Sometimes it's a good way to test content as well. You throw it on Instagram, see how it goes. Those are the two social platforms I focus on, and then YouTube is a search engines, and so like I'm huge on YouTube. I spend a lot of time on getting my YouTube working
Really?
well, because it brings in so many international clients. Luke, like YouTube brings in like more clients for me at the moment than anything else. You know, it's
Wow. How many videos are you posting a week or a month on YouTube?
maybe 2 videos a week.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, not that much.
So
Yeah.
how is it bringing clients? Like, just because they're just, obviously the keywords that you've put in YouTube, when you post a video, you can choose what keywords you want to
Yeah.
put in. Is that why or
Yeah,
how?
that's definitely how that's like how they find me. So like they'll be searching for LinkedIn marketing or something, and eventually they might come across one video, but they just get so much value that they then binge watch. They binge watch my content. I can't imagine somebody sitting at home on a Friday night binge watching my stuff, but that's what's going on. Like, it literally is. Like, and so when they reach out, they're not speaking to 3 other LinkedIn trainers. They're just speaking to me, and they half the time they don't even think that it's possible to hire me. They think, oh, it must be way out of their reach, but but I tell them, yeah, no, you can sign up as a client, it's going to be a couple $1,000s a month or whatever. And they're like, really? I can? Oh, wow. Yeah, take my money. They're in.
Wow. So you're
It's great.
someone's interesting. Like, I watch a lot of people in this business, and it seems like for you, like, you're someone that's focused a lot on brand early on. Like, maybe you weren't pulling in the millions immediately or whatnot, but you were focusing a lot on adding value to your audience, like massive on brand. Hey, like, you don't do that much of like really selling or call to actions. Like, I don't see that much from
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just what's working. Like, it took a few years before me to see that it was working. Like, people don't realize when I started posting videos on YouTube, they were getting like 2-3 views a video, so like I had to deal with that whole thing where your friends and your family and everyone's like, what the hell are you doing that for? They were like, are you okay? You need to go see a counselor. Why would like, you got a problem with your ego or something, because why are you posting these videos? No one's watching them, right? And I don't really have an answer. It's not like I could turn around and say, no, that one bit got more views. And like, they were right. I wasn't not getting any views. And I just I literally would just force myself to listen to Gary Vee like every morning on my headphones. Like, Gary Vee's the only one that's telling me I was doing the right things. I just listen to him all the time. Like, and
Wow.
eventually,
Yeah.
like, eventually I you work out, you go, oh, wow, I got 10 views on that video. Like, why? And you eventually work out what the audience wants. And then you get to a place where you post a video and you're getting thousands of views. And everyone's like, how on earth do you do that? And it's like, well, I've been doing this a long time, and it's like, I know what the audience is looking for.
Wow.
Comes
So
from experience.
that's incredible. What would you say to the coach, the person out there that's like, they're looking at the YouTube, they're looking at their Facebook or sorry, their LinkedIn or Instagram, and they're only getting a couple of likes and let's just say YouTube is big for that because it's a beast of a platform. I forget how many videos are populated, put every minute, but there's a lot. But how would they overcome that where they're that complex in the mind where they're not getting many likes or comments? Like, how would you help a coach overcome that? What do you recommend for them?
I think, well, like, when I look at these guys starting out posting content, like I see they do tune in to like watch the other content creators like me and Gary Vee and learn from us. But like, if I go look at their LinkedIn profile and I look at their last post, they probably have 1 or 2 comments, but they didn't take the time to answer them. Like, they didn't reply to those comments. So I would say put the same amount of effort that you put into learning from Gary Vee and me and you, and put the same amount of effort that you put into learning from those guys into learning from your audience. Like, if that guy comments on your post, like, call him up and say, hey man, thanks for commenting on my post. What do you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Take notes, like learn what your audience wants. Like, when I was to go to Melbourne, right? I would go back to like some of my early articles and I would look at who's commenting, and most of those people not commenting anymore. Like, they're not following my stuff anymore. And I'd call them up and I'd book 3 lunch appointments with them. I'm like, hey, it's Nathaniel. You remember me? You used to follow me on LinkedIn. I would love to buy you lunch while I'm in Melbourne. And they're like, what? Why? What? Okay. So like, I take that for lunch. I'm like, hey, it's so good to see you. You used to follow my stuff. You used to comment on my stuff. You don't anymore. Like, I just want to learn from you. Like, what did you like about it? What don't you like? What don't you like about what I'm doing now? Is it something I should be doing differently? Or are you just not using LinkedIn as much? And I get all this data, and like, I'm just keeping getting my content better. But like, who do you know that takes the time to do that? Most of the time, they're ignoring the people following them. It's a bit like, I use this analogy of like, if you go to a networking function, right? Like, you're going to a network function to promote your business, and you get there and there's only 10 people in the networking function. You're a little bit disappointed. You're like, only 10 people here. Do you spend your time like getting to know those 10 people, having empathy, showing your charisma, or do you just stand out the front of the restaurant going, hey guys, come into our networking party. We need more people, and ignore the 10 people that are in there? Because that's what most people are doing on social media, aren't they? They're just going, we need more followers. I've only got 100. I need more followers.
Yeah.
It's like they're ignoring those ones already following them.
Wow. So you think that's really the case? Like, people don't appreciate like the small things that they're getting back from the world or the universe in a spiritual sense. They don't appreciate that, and so it doesn't grow, right?
It's just, they're just focused on themselves. Like, it's in our human nature to be selfish and to be impatient. We want results tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the same. Like, I'm not any different. I'm not special. I just conscious of it, constantly working on my patience and empathy. You know.
Wow. Yeah. So with the YouTube, that's great. And then, do you recommend LinkedIn advertising at all for coaches, or what have you found there?
Yeah, look, it's expensive. Like, that's the only thing I'm going to say. You know, like, yeah.
But you can get good results for free. So you reckon that it's expensive, and so it depends, right?
Look, I don't use LinkedIn advertising for my business. I've got a few clients I use it for, but they're normally high transaction value size. Like, Facebook remarketing is awesome. Like, I just prefer to do an organic post and I'll say like, hey, you know, I've just written this ebook and it's about like all these sales scripts. Comment below if you'd like the link. Get all these comments. Loads of people see it. I send them a link. They all go to my website. The cookie gets dropped in their browser from Facebook. Like, then all of a sudden my ads are showing to them on Facebook. It's like $10 a day or something to remarket to them because there's not that many. You know, I use Facebook remarketing. And I think that's probably the most powerful thing in my armor is Facebook remarketing, because it's just, I mean, it's only as good as the amount of people you get to your website in the first place. But if you are getting traffic to your website and they're turning into clients, you can quite easily just triple the size, or not triple, like 30% is the increase in business that I got by turning on Facebook remarketing. You just get 30% more sales straight away just by turning on remarketing.
So explain for the audience, someone that's a beginner that doesn't understand the Facebook retargeting.
Yeah. So like, if you want to sell your house, right? Like, you go to see a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Um, and imagine like you go to see like a real estate agent, and then on your drive home on the freeway, every billboard just switches to advertise that real estate agent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Say, come back and list your house with me. Come back and list your house with me.
Yeah.
Just reminding you to go back. And so it's the same on the internet. Remarketing is like somebody goes to your website, then everywhere they start to go after that, they start to see your banners like pop up.
Yeah.
Like, and Facebook's a great place to do it because people spend so much time on Facebook. So all of a sudden, you know, you've looked like if you've looked at buy like if you've gone shopping for like you know, flights somewhere or hotels or to even buy clothes, and then you see the ads popping up on Facebook to remind you, you know, the probability of you going back to that shop to buy again is just higher. Like it's 30 for my business, it's 30% more revenue, just like that, just by reminding everyone to come back.
So yeah, because when you do the Facebook ad or whatever, you put in, you know, whatever the ad might be, and you choose who you want to send, put that in front of, and you just choose the audience that has already clicked on your website or they've already engaged with your Facebook business page posts, and just put that call to action in front of them, right, for the free PDF or the free downloadable.
Yeah, and I'd never put that that ad in front of somebody that hasn't been to my website or hasn't clicked on something or hasn't consumed content, because they're not ready for it. Like they're not far enough down the customer journey. That's why you never see any calls to action, because I'm always targeting the awareness stage of the customer journey, the top of the customer journey. Like you got awareness, then you got consideration, then they got like purchase, and then you got advocacy. But every time you go down this funnel, like the audience gets smaller. So if you're doing an organic post on LinkedIn, you've got to cater for the awareness stage, where most people don't know that they have the problem yet, or they don't know that they need what you do. So if you start putting an ad in front of them, asking them to buy something, they're just not going to engage with it. Like the majority of people won't engage with it.
Yeah, if they're not problem aware, or and you know, even worse, if they're not problem and not solution aware, then
but you might put a post up that's like, hey, you know, are you frustrated with growing your business, or like, you know, talk about something that would be in the awareness stage. And by watching your content, they'll recognize that they have a problem, and then they'll go to look at your website, and then they'll get the cookie, and then they'll see the ad, and you know, they're moving down the customer journey.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. All right, amazing. So what is the, you know, I guess the number one tip that you would give to coaches who want to increase their LinkedIn following, the number one tip?
To increase their following. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is don't sell to people that haven't told you that they've got the problem you solve. Like you might know that they have a problem, but until they tell you about it, like you can't really sell to them. You need a permission these days to sell. It's just the world's changed. Like people don't want to be sold to. But understand this, right? If they have the problem that you solve, they do want to buy. Don't get me wrong. They want to buy. They got a problem. They want to solve it. They just don't want to be sold to. So this is the challenge. Help them buy. Don't try and sell to them.
Okay. All right. Okay. very good. Help them buy, don't try and sell them. And what is the number one mistake that you see coaches make on LinkedIn?
The number one mistake still profile. So, you know, most people have a version of their resume up there. That's still the biggest mistake. No matter what you do on LinkedIn, whether it's advertising, content, sending messages, it's only going to be as good as your profile. Like, people are going to come back and look at your profile all the time, and that's going to decide whether or not they respond to you or engage with you. So if you, like, a resume is the most boring piece of content you can put in front of a potential buyer. Like if you're trying to get more customers, you know, you don't give them a version of your CV. Like, have you ever bought anything because you walked into a shop and somebody gave you their resume? Like, no, it needs to be in customer-centric language. It needs to identify who you work, who you help, what the problem is you solve, and then what people should do next. Like if they want to find out more, you know, too often you go to a profile and it's like, I'm a motivated, you know, supersonic professional. I started my career doing this, and then I had a change of heart and did this. I've got 3 degrees in this, but like, and it's just all this stuff that no one cares about until they actually get to who they help, what they help them with, Like, yes, sure, like awards and stuff help build credibility, but like no one's going to care about the credibility until they know that you're going to be like you actually help somebody like them. You know?
Yeah. That's incredible. All right. Well, this is extraordinary. You have achieved so much, and you're like, in the years that we've known each other, and I know we met starting out in the Tony Robbins events, and yeah, it's been really good. Like,
Hey,
I really love that. Yeah.
you've done an amazing job, as Luke. Like, if you're sleeping in your van when we met, man, and like I'm amazed with the growth that you've achieved, and you know what's most impressive to me is what I hear from people that attend your events. Like,
oh, wow, thank you.
Like when people tell me that somebody's changed their life, and I hear it consistently from people that have attended your events.
Wow.
Like, I'm like, what is this guy doing? What's going on in these rooms?
Oh, mate, you don't want to know. We close the doors, and they're not allowed out until we say so. But yeah, I think like, the power of personal development, and you've done so much yourself. I think that for me, we just really want to give people a good soul breakthrough where, they really change the way they see themselves. I think if you do that, like, you've seen that your identity and how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself, is so important, so I think, and it's good. Like, we talked a lot about strategy today and whatnot. I know we could have a whole other conversation about, psychology and mindset, but basically, it's incredible. Your LinkedIn success, it's done amazing. It's great to walk the path with you with someone who's doing great things, in this field. And I know it's not easy to, keep going no matter what. So maybe you should, I'm sure you've had your challenges and obstacles. So
Oh man,
I could only imagine. So, but what would you say to the coach? Like, because I'm sure you've had your own obstacles in the journey, and the coach there that, is struggling right now and not sure whether they should keep going and if it's worth it or not.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, that's something you got to decide on your own, like if it's worth it or not. But it's not always going to be fun. It's not always going to be easy. But like when I started my business, like that company I was working for, they hadn't paid me in 3 months. Like I was getting evicted, my electricity got cut off. So like I got an eviction notice. I quit my job because I hadn't been paid in 3 months, and when I was sitting in this apartment in St Kilda, like it's getting dark, and you don't think about this normally, but like, when it gets dark, you turn the lights on, and I go to turn the lights on, there's nothing happening. I got another room, nothing happening. It's like, shit, I haven't paid the electricity bill. So like it's getting dark. So all of a sudden it's a dark apartment, right? Wow. And I was like, shit, what am I going to do? So I get 2 extension cables and I plug them together so that I can run them far enough down the stairwell of this apartment building into in the public area, there's like a power socket, right? Yeah. And so I plug them in. So I got some power, and then there has to be 2 cables long to get it long enough. And then I plug the other end into a desk lamp. And I was like, I've got a desk lamp, I've got a notebook, I've got a pen, and I'm like, okay, let's write it. What are we going to do to get this money? And like, when you're a salesperson, like you can't just get another sales job and expect to make, like, I was $20,000 in debt. Like I needed to pay so many things. I can't just expect to get $20,000 straight off the bat. I called my mum that night. I called my dad. They both said, no, they can't help me. Yeah. Like I was literally out of options, and the only thing I could get on this piece of paper that would get me out of these problems is to start a business. I was like, this is the only way. Like I had a company that was like an ABN that wasn't doing anything, and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to start a business. Like let's do this. And I was up all night planning my company, BB Consulting Group, and then 8 a.m. I hit the phones and I'm like taking massive action. Got no idea what I'm going to say to the person on the other end. There's this real estate agent in South Bank, and he's like, yeah, hello, 8 a.m. And I'm like, hey man, he's like, I'm like, I want to get your salespeople all together this afternoon to meet with me in your conference room in South Bank. Let's get them all together. I want to come and talk to them. And he's like, why on earth would I do that? Who the hell are you? Right. And I'm like, this is all I said. I said, I'm going to convince them to invest in your brand. And he's like, you're crazy. I'm curious. They'll be there. And I get there at 4 p.m. and there's like 15 salespeople, real estate agents in this conference area. I'm like, hey guys, take a seat. Everybody take a seat. And they've got this laptop hooked up to the screen. And I'm like, what's your name? And he's like, oh, John Smith or whatever it is. I'm like, Googling John Smith real estate. I'm like, geez, you're not showing up in the search results. I wonder if the rest of you guys are. So I was like, look, I can give you a one-page website. So if you're John Smith, you get johnsmith.com.au. I'll give you a Facebook profile and I'll give you a LinkedIn profile. You'll have 3 search results on the first page of Google when someone searches for your name, right? And so 8 of them said yes. 6 of them gave me their credit. Was it 6 of them? Yeah, 6 of them gave me their credit card details on the spot. $2,500 each. Made $15,000 in my first day of business.
No. Oh my God. Wow. That's extraordinary. Fuck. So, wow, 15,000 in your first day. And then from then on, you're like, wow, I'm in the game now, I imagine.
Yeah, I get home that night, right? I'm like paying I have to pay my power bills for some stuff, but I'm like, I don't know how to build a one-page website. Like, so I'm like, they had this thing called Elance at the time, right? Elance is like,
I remember.
Like, you post jobs for people to do internationally, and like this woman in like Pakistan said, I'll build you 6 one-page websites for $300. I was like, sweet, this is great. And that's how it started. But like a few weeks later, like I was doing the LinkedIn stuff anyway. A business coach asked me to, so business coach is relevant, right? Yeah. He asked me to invite my network to an event he was running, and at the end he would thank his sponsors. So like normally he would say, like, thanks Nathaniel, who's in online marketing. If you need any help with online marketing, go speak to Nathaniel. And I said, look, I've been doing these LinkedIn profiles lately. Why don't you just say, I'm a LinkedIn expert. If anyone needs help with their LinkedIn profile, speak to Nathaniel, right? And so there's like 120 people in the room. And then he goes, by the way, thank you to my sponsors, one of which is Nathaniel. If you need help with your LinkedIn, he can help you. And like, I get swamped after the event, like 50 people all around me asking me questions about LinkedIn. And the coach's name is David Guest in Melbourne. And he comes up to me and he whispers in my ear something I'll never forget. He's come real close to me and he said, Nathaniel, the market is telling you what it wants. And I was like, And that's when it clicked for me. That's when I niched. That's when I decided to niche in LinkedIn.
Niche LinkedIn. Wow, that's I think that's a powerful lesson the audience should know. The market tells you what they want. They like your stuff, great. If they don't like your stuff, then they don't. Change accordingly and stop taking it so personally, and just be flexible. Wow, in your approach. That's extraordinary. We want to say thanks for joining us. It's been incredible to have you part of it. And where can people go to follow you and connect with you?
Look, I'm on all the platforms, like wherever you like to hang out, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram's Nat Bibby, we've got Spotify, the Nathaniel Bibby podcast, iTunes. And then my website's nathanielbibby.com. Go and check it out.